Hey there folks, now we're going to move on to possibly the most complex and most powerful, overtly, of all the exercises in this sequence. Now you've seen it before in the neck, throat, and shoulders course, then you saw it again in the core course. This time we're going to do it again, but with a slight variation for the lower body course. So what I'm talking about is the exercise Mussolini Jaw. And I'm going to explain each of the component parts of it and show you how to piece those together if you're having trouble with it. Then I'll demonstrate the entire movement and show you the two variations that we use when we use it with the lower body sequence. So Mussolini Jaw, the basic instructions are, you take a complete inhalation, you push your jaw out like an underbite. Now after you've done that, complete inhalation, jaw out, you start to growl. So that's the first couple of parts. You can try those separate, get used to the jaw, get used to the growl. Then once you get used to those, we're going to add in some movements. So you take a full breath in, push out the jaw, start growling, and then once you begin growling, that's considered the exhale. You raise your head up, not your head and your arms, just your head, and you raise your arms like this, up and back. You let the growl build, and then at the height, at the crescendo of the growl, you make a loud shout and punch down and let the head flop back. Now with the lower body course, we're going to add, with the head coming up and the fists and arms coming back, we're going to add a pelvic tilt. So for this first variation, once you punch down, you're going to let the head and the pelvis flop down. So let me demonstrate this now. Ooh, now see right away, I'm getting a muscle cramp right here. That can happen. So you want to just move slow. Let it work itself out. Don't be afraid of how it feels. Now what you might notice right away is, without being aware of it, I actually slammed my pelvis down with the punch. So you can see, even after doing this a million times, it's still easy to do that. So I'm going to do it again. This time I'm going to do my punch, and then let that punch be the signal to let the head and the pelvis flop back down. So let's try that again. Then once you've done the movement, you always let yourself relax, let out the fists. Take a couple deep sighing, relaxing ah breaths. You might get some twitching and things like that. You want to work on that as much as you can. Figure out one or two things you can improve on. Don't worry about the entire thing. Maybe just work on just raising the head instead of the head and the shoulders. You know, once you get that, then you can pick out another piece to improve on. Do each part, 5, 10, 15 times. Excuse me, do 5, 10, 15 repetitions, and then move on for that day, for that sequence. So I'm going to do that one again. Now you see again, I let go of awareness a little bit and my pelvis slammed down with the punch. So now I'm going to have to refocus, let out my fists, take a couple breaths. And try it again. So as you can see, there's a slight delay between the punch and then right at that punch you let that sound, that movement, be the signal to let the other parts flop. And as I showed you, the body can start reasserting the tension patterns anytime. You do it again, you get a little better. You do it again, you get a little better. And don't worry about if you're getting it perfect or not. That doesn't matter. What matters is you're doing it, observing, and enjoying the process. So I'll do it one more time, then we'll explore the other variation. Now again there, I may have let my head thrust down a little more than letting it flop. So just work at it. Notice what's going on. Pick one or two things to focus on. Don't be hard on yourself. And just get better and better. Again, it took me 3 or 4 months to even get to the point of doing it in the way that the instructions really describe. It takes some time for the body to get used to this kind of stuff. So go easy on yourself. Keep going with it. It can be a lot of fun. The next variation is we're going to, instead of letting the pelvis flop, we're going to slam it down with the punch. This one's actually a little easier than the first one. So I'll go ahead and demonstrate that. Again, full inhalation, jaw out, growling, head and shoulders, head and arms, excuse me, come up like this, growl builds, and then on the shout, slam it down, let the head flop back. I know it's complicated, it's a lot of things to keep in mind. Just teach it to your body and you'll get the hang of it. Now you might cough or get some dry or scratchy throat with this one. That's just part of the growling. I'll demonstrate it one more time and then give a few pointers. I'm going to assert, again, this is a process. It's always a process. So if I were to do 15 of those in a row right now, every single one I would use as an opportunity to, in this case, I'd focus on letting my head flop. That's what I notice I'm having an issue with today. On a different day, it might be the pelvis. On another day, it might be the fists or the growl. So you notice what you notice, focus on that, make the improvements, move on and let it go. To build up to this movement, it can be helpful to break it apart into separate pieces. So you might, say you have the other courses, you recognize some of these movements that we're putting together, you might do just the inhale, the head up, and then say ah, and let the head flop back down, just to get used to this movement, to break it apart from this. You just want that. Then you might do some inhaling with the arms up and back, and see now it's different if I'm just raising my arms up, but what I'm doing is tensing all these muscles. You'll see them start to shake because I'm putting so much tension in. So I'm squeezing with the fists, squeezing the forearms, squeezing the biceps, triceps, everything. Coming up on the inhalation and then punching down. So you get used to that movement. It's not like this. It's not like this and you're letting it flop. It's a very deliberate and aggressive movement. So it's like this. You punch down. So you get used to the punching. Then you can try those together. And so on. Then with the pelvis, again, you've already tried raising the pelvis and lowering it. You get used to that. Then you can add it all together into Mussolini Jaw. So hopefully that makes the whole process of this exercise a little more clear for you. Again, if you want individual attention on your movements, just record yourself doing the exercise. Post it into the forum. I'll take a look at it and give you some comments on what you can work on. Feel free to ask any questions. And remember, this exercise can take you a long time till you start to really feel that you're mastering it. So don't worry too much about it. Just improve what you can, move on. And that applies not only to undoing, but to other areas of your life. So hopefully you'll take that lesson and run with it. See you on the next exercise.